dark reaches of the immaterium, where raw emotion takes form and thought becomes being, there dwells a god whose very name is a war cry. Khorne, the blood god. He is wrath made manifest, the brutal embodiment of murder, fury, and battle. His roar is said to echo back to the very first act of violence, when one primitive creature seized a stone and struck down its kin in blind, red rage. Some among the corrupted philosophers of chaos argue that it was Khorne who inspired that blow, who whispered murder into the soul of the first killer. Others believe it was that primal act itself, raw, bloody, and unthinking, that birthed Khorne into being, a psychic echo in the warp from the fury of mortals. But such debates are hollow to his true disciples. They do not speak, they slaughter. Across the stars, conflict never sleeps. Greed, envy, pride, power. These are the sparks. War is the fire. Whether for survival or domination, for sport or for hatred, every act of bloodshed sends ripples through reality. These ripples flow to one throne alone. Khorne sits in judgment atop a brass throne built upon a mountain of skulls. The remains of his champions, their enemies, and all who have died in his name. His is the clearest call among the dark gods. Blood for the blood god. Skulls for the skull throne. Which is as good a time as any to plug my new merch. If you want to help support this channel further, consider checking out this Khorne-inspired merch. A Khornite berserker pillow, claiming sleep for the sleep god, pillows for the pillow throne, which you can find on both a shirt and a pillow. Find the link in the description or head to thesleepyhollow.shop. But if that isn't for you, I hope that if you enjoy this video, you'll consider giving it a like and subscribe if you haven't. Alright, back to sweet, murdery dreams. Khorne's power does not beg, coax, or deceive. It commands. He needs no honeyed lies or subtle promises. The rage lurking beneath every mortal facade is enough. The soldier who strikes for vengeance, the protector who kills to defend, the warlord who raises a world for power. Each channels Khorne's essence, whether they know it or not. His influence is felt in every corner of existence, from petty quarrels to galaxy-spanning wars. He is there in the spark of a duel, in the howl of an orbital bombardment, in the thunder of tanks, in the shriek of chain blades. Khorne is not death. He is the act of killing itself. Khorne is most often seen, when he chooses to be seen at all, as a colossal, muscular titan, encased in brutal plates of brass and blackened iron. His snarling, dog-like visage glares from beneath a crowned helm adorned with skulls. Though often referred to as he, Khorne is no man, nor even truly a god, but the sentient essence of violence made manifest. The gendered pronoun is a convenience of mortals. In truth, Khorne is wrath without form, focused into terrible shape. In his right hand rests a blade whose name shifts across tongues and races. Woe-bringer, war-maker, the end of all things. With it, Khorne can split the veil between dimensions, allowing his demonic legions to pour into the material realm. The skull throne he broods upon is surrounded by a sea of blood, stained by the sacrifices of every life taken in his name. Beneath the throne, some say lies a forge, its bellows stoked by furnace demons who craft the weapons and armor wielded by his demonic and mortal hosts. The scent of hot brass and burnt gore fills the air. And, as always, the mountain grows higher. The skulls piled at its base come from all species, all worlds, all times. It is an eternal testament to the truth of war. There is no peace, only slaughter. Why the number 8 holds power to Khorne, none can say. But its influence is carved into every ritual and army devoted to him. His blood legions are arrayed in 8s. 8 towers ring his citadel. When his demons die, they must complete 8 trials before regaining form. Even in the warp's greatest conflicts, Khorne's 8th wave strikes the hardest. Worshippers marked the number into their flesh, chant it in summoning rites, and structure their warbands in multiples of it. 8 is the rhythm of war. 8 is the breath between death cries. And in some ancient prophecies, it is foretold that after 8 great ages of war, Khorne's thirst might finally be quenched. Though even his most faithful doubt that day will ever come. Khorne is not madness. Khorne is not chaos. Khorne is order, but the order of domination, of primal conflict, of the blade's victory over the weak. War is not a symptom. It is the truth of reality. Civilizations rise through conquest and fall through stronger conquest still. There is no peace that is not bought with blood. To Khorne, the act of killing is holy, mercy is heresy, and blood is worship. A single warrior, gripped by fury, may kill a handful, but a legion of such zealots, a host of Khorne's blessed, can level planets. And they do. Across the galaxy, cults rise in secret. Some call him a beast spirit, a hunting god, or a blood-anointed savior. Orcs, humans, other Xenos, all can fall to his influence, knowingly or not. In the hives of the Imperium, gangs paint red symbols and cut throats for turf. When they call upon a patron to guide their blades, Khorne answers. For Khorne cares not from whence the blood flows, only that it flows. In Khorne's name, entire civilizations are extinguished. Ranks of berserkers wade through streets awash in crimson. Armored engines pulverize defenders. Demons leap from rents in reality. Cities are reduced to bone and ash. But for the warriors of Khorne, this is only the beginning. As battles rage, guns are abandoned. Chainswords are dropped. Warriors seek flesh, to feel it tear under their fingers, to bathe in the hot blood of their foes. The slaughter becomes worship, and the greater the carnage, the closer they feel to their god. And when the last foe is dead, they turn inward. Blood must be spilled, even if it means slaughtering their own. Khorne does not care. All blood honors him. Even in the realm of chaos, the war never ceases. Bloodthirsters clash, bloodletters duel, fleshhounds tear each other apart. When a host lies in ruin, it is replaced. The forge never cools. The bell never stops tolling. War is eternal. Blood is eternal. Khorne is eternal. In the churning madness of the warp, seated upon a throne of brass atop a mountain of skulls, Khorne bellows. His voice a howl of eternal rage, echoing through time and space, drowning the stars in fury. Around his throne stretches a battlefield without end, a plain of shattered bone and boiling blood. The remains of the faithful and the damned, the slain and the slayers alike, all offered in his name. Khorne is war unreasoned, violence unbound, and fury incarnate. He is the ceaseless bloodletting of friend and foe alike, the god who demands murder not for strategy or gain, but for the joy of it. His followers are those who turn to him for the strength to conquer, the power to kill, the right to avenge, and the skill to master all others in battle. Yet those who descend too far into his embrace soon understand the truth. Khorne desires only one thing: slaughter. Not victory, not purpose, only death and more death. He despises the sorcerer, the liar, and the schemer. The twisting of fate, the conjuring of illusions, these things are for the cowards who skulk in shadows. For Tzeentch's brood, not Khorne's. To wield the psychic arts in Khorne's name is heresy, and to whisper spells in his presence is to offer one's skull in failure. His warriors fight with axe and blade, not with deceit or manipulation. From the feral worlds to the feudal dead zones, from the wild tribes of man to the mutant rabble of chaos, the cult of Khorne thrives. It spreads like a wildfire across the dry savanna, hungry unrelenting, and always seeking more blood to spill. His warriors are frenzied killers, their tactics little more than an all-consuming charge. They don't defend, they only destroy. Temples are not needed. The battlefield is their altar. A war cry screamed into the void. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. Is prayer enough? In the absence of enemies, the cultists turn on one another, hacking at their own blood-drenched offerings, each seeking the favor of a god who favors none. Those blessed by Khorne bear his marks with pride. Some gain monstrous strength, others wear bestial visages or sprout claws, horns, and talons. These gifts are proof that the blood god watches and that violence is rewarded. Among the most revered of his mortal servants are the World Eaters, a traitor legion that exists for nothing else but slaughter in Khorne's name. The path to Khorne begins in yearning for power, control, or vengeance. It appeals to soldiers, to killers, to those who have been made weak and dream of rising through brute strength. And Khorne answers. He grants might and resilience, especially to those who fight with blade and fist. But his gifts bear a cost. Those who drink deeply of his power are soon consumed by it. Rage begins to boil in their veins. Every waking moment becomes a blur of fury. Only bloodshed can calm it, and only for a moment. Then the hunger returns, worse than before. In time, the worshipper becomes a creature of pure murder. Words vanish, thought fades, only the killing remains. The axe becomes an extension of the soul, and to stand idle is agony. Firearms, too distant. Sorcery, weakness. Only the blade satisfies. Axes cleave deeper. Swords strike truer. The kill must be felt. The bones breaking, the blood splattering, muscles parting under the pressure. In these acts, communion with Khorne is found. As tactics dissolve in red mist, only one strategy remains. Charge. Get close. Rip, tear, and feed the god. And if the cultist dies in the act, so much the better. Their skull still adds to the throne. Among the Chaos Gods, Khorne's hatred burns brightest for Slaanesh, the Prince of Pleasure. To Khorne, the self-indulgent perversions of the Dark Prince are filth. He dreams of one day seizing Slaanesh by the throat, choking the laughter into screams, and snapping the god's neck with the sound of righteous, bone-breaking fury. Their servants despise one another just as much. Where they meet, they fight. No diplomacy, no delay. Yet Khorne also reserves a deep disgust for Tzeentch, the great deceiver. Sorcery, scheming, lies. These are all affronts to Khorne's creed of raw, open combat. And though the two powers may temporarily unite when bloodshed suits them both, such pacts are unstable, fueled by necessity, not kinship. They always end in betrayal, in violence, in red. Because in the end, Khorne will not be outmaneuvered. He will kill, or he will die killing. In the realm of chaos, Khorne's domain is a nightmare forged of fury and death. Endless plains of shattered bone stretch beneath skies racked with rage. Storms shriek overhead, winds howling with fury, so real they tear mountains from the earth and scatter molten stone like hail. But the land itself is alive, and it fights back. Volcanoes burst in defiance, hurling brass and fire to the heavens. Blood rivers rise and flood, consuming demons and mountains alike. Land slashes itself open, then heals in molten fury. Even the rocks thirst for violence. And in the heart of it all, from the skull throne, Khorne watches. He needs no court. His demons wage war upon each other in eternal, joyous slaughter. Each blow struck, every head taken, is an offering. To wander this realm is to face a truth more ancient than stars. War is eternal, conflict is God, and peace is a lie. Here, even the wind is a killer, even the blood is hungry, and to survive is not a goal, but a brief delay of death. At the ragged, burning edge of the blood god's realm lies a ring of fire and fury, a circle of towering volcanoes so colossal that their peaks claw at the roof of the sky. The damned call it Khorne's rage. These mountains spew forth black smoke and molten brass in endless torrents, choking the sky and sealing the blood god's domain in an impenetrable curtain of hate and heat. Red lightning crackles through the dense ash, while thunder roars like the whip crack of a bloodthirster, or the charge of juggernauts crossing a killing field. The ground here is sacred to destruction. The volcanoes stand sentinel, a bulwark against invasion. Their hellish torrents scour the land and air alike, killing the foolish long before they ever glimpse the brass citadel. But worse waits within. Should some arrogant force press into this scorched boundary, the mountains themselves awaken. Rock shatters and brass floods the fissures. From the flanks of the peaks rise monstrous things, half molten metal, half demon, forged from the mountain's wrath. These abominations lurk forward in silence, their rage as pure as it is mindless. They crush, they burn, they kill, and once their slaughter is done, they collapse into smoking ruin, lifeless until the next challenge dares their wrath. Nestled at the feet of Khorne's rage, forges burn eternal. Furnace demons toil in the heat of the volcanoes, hammering blades and axes from white-hot brass, crafting brutal armor and mechanisms of war destined for the blood god's legions. Here is where the parts of demon engines, gears, weapon housing, fanged cannon muzzles are first born. Full assembly happens elsewhere, but every jagged tooth and spike begins at these hell forges. It is a place of ceaseless labor, where demons know their toil may be swallowed in an instant by a volcanic eruption. Khorne does not mourn them. Others rise from the blood pits to take their place. At the fringes, where invaders die screaming, the Forge Masters reap a dark bounty. Using forbidden implements and sorceries too foul even for the twisted servants of Tzeentch, they enslave the souls of mortals slain at Khorne's border. These screaming spirits are bound into anvils, their eternal torment fueling the forge itself. When hammers fall, the soul feels every blow. Every weapon is shaped in pain, baptized in hatred. Thus, the arms of Khorne are not merely weapons. They are curses made solid, forged from agony and bound to wrath. Warp storms dance across the chaos realms like wildfire, mutating all they touch. But in the Blood God's domain, there are places where this terrible energy lingers, places where it gathers. In such sites, the land buckles and breaks, forming vast craters. No one can say whether this takes moments or millennia. Time does not breathe here. When the warp settles into a pit, Khorne commands fresh blood be gathered from the mortal plane. The call goes out. Blood must be spilled, not in battle alone, but in devastation. Worlds burn, armies fall, and the blood of the slain is siphoned into these pits, mixed with molten brass and a drop of Khorne's own bile. From this churning stew rise the newborn legions, bloodletters, furnace demons, and beasts of hate and fire. They crawl from the muck, scream their oaths to the god that birthed them. From that moment until they fall in battle, their sole task is to harvest more blood and to refill the pit from whence they came. And when the pits run dry, the storms come again. The cycle begins anew. Across the realm, these pits give rise to rivers, boiling torrents of blood that stretch for kilometers, carving the land like scars. The lifeblood of all who die in Khorne's name ends here, whether friend or foe. No drop is wasted. It flows and it burns. Steam rises in crimson veils, cloaking entire valleys in a red haze. From time to time, grotesque bubbles rise and burst, hurling scalding gore high into the air, raining back down in arterial sprays that decorate the land with fresh carnage. These rivers are not symbols, they are testaments, channels through which the blood god's power surges, a liquid hymn to endless war. Eventually, all rivers run red into a chasm. There, a waterfall of gore cascades over a cliff thousands of meters high, crashing into a lake so vast that it dwarfs any ocean of mortal comprehension. This is the Lake of Slaughter. brass-scaled leviathans swim its depths. Demon dragons of solidified blood battle in the skies above it. Even the lake itself hungers, rising in waves shaped like warriors, slamming into one another in a mimicry of combat. Should anything fly too low, it is swallowed whole, devoured by the lake. This is not a place. It is a being, a battlefield made liquid. Beyond the lake lies a plain of skulls. The earth is gone. Only blood remains. For kilometers, skulls stretch to the horizon. And there, rising from the crimson haze, stands the brass citadel, Khorne's fortress. Its outer walls are black and smooth, towering high above the bone-choked earth. Atop them stand demon sentinels, ever watchful. Flesh hounds prowl below, sniffing for intruders. Above, bloodthirsters soar, listening for the cry of the unworthy. To attack the brass citadel is to awaken hell. Should any rival chaos god dare breach this sanctum, Khorne's fury is unleashed. His personal host strikes with such force that realms quake and rifts between dimensions tear open. The other gods do not take retribution lightly, but even they hesitate to answer the blood god's wrath. It is whispered that once, in his fury, Khorne rose from his throne and struck the ground with his mighty blade, the end of all things, and that this blow split worlds. Because of this, balance holds. The great game plays on, not out of alliance, but out of mutual fear. For if Khorne ever truly went to war, the ruin would swallow all. And so, he broods upon his skull throne, listening to the endless hymns of violence that echo across his lands, the clash of blades, the thunder of war cries, and the whispers of skulls still yet to fall. At the very heart of the brass citadel, deeper than the bastion's stair, beyond the looming 8 iron pillars that mark the path of ascension, sits the throne of skulls. From this grisly pinnacle, the blood god Khorne gazes out over the realm of chaos and commands its endless blood legions, issuing wordless decrees of slaughter that ripple like thunder through the warp. Mortals and demons alike heed the call. When they triumph, Khorne hungers for more. When they fail, it is their blood that slakes its thirst, their skulls that are cast into the rivers of its domain. For blood must be claimed, one way or another. Should a champion falter, Khorne will reap his due from servant as readily as from foe. The throne itself rests upon a monument of skulls, a mountainous heap surrounding the blood god on all sides. These bleached relics are not merely the remains of Khorne's enemies. They are trophies, reverent offerings from his champions, markers of glory, rage, and ruin. Within that mound lie the craniums of failed warlords, butchered alien tyrants, heretic generals and the favored chosen who fell in battle after lifetimes soaked in gore. If these skulls could speak, they would whisper of ages long before the Long War, of battles lost to time, of the day Angron, the Red Angel, had yet to kneel before the Blood God. Some would tell of foolish empires that defied Khorne and were drowned in their own blood, species extinguished by berserker rage. And the closest to the god, the skulls of its most treasured champions, would do more than whisper. They would howl across eternity, a savage, jubilant echo of their final charge. Blood for the Blood God. Among the most violent spectacles to ever grace the Blood God's court is the eternal war of Tuska, the Demon Killer. This unhinged orc warlord led a Wa so frenzied, so obsessed with carnage, that it hurled itself bodily into the eye of terror, guided by the crackling madness of 1,000 weird boys. Their only desire? To fight demons. Tuska's mob carved a path of destruction through worlds devoted to the rival gods of chaos, drawing the rapt attention Khorne. The orc warlord, proudly bearing the title Demon Killer, and his green horde left mountains of corpses in their wake. But their charge ended upon the fleshy surface of a demon world ruled by a blood prince, a mighty demon prince beloved of Khorne himself. There, Tuska's entire Wa was annihilated, every last greenskin crushed beneath the fury of the Blood Prince and his demonic host. But the carnage had pleased Khorne, and so, as the next dawn bled across the twisted sky, Tuska and his horde arose again. Again they fought, again they died, and again they returned. Over and over, the cycle repeated. Slaughter without surrender. Death without despair. Khorne watched with mounting joy, for here was a glorious paradox. An army that neither feared death nor ever truly died. The Blood God claimed them. He dragged the Wa into his realm, into the burning shadow of the brass citadel. There, Tuska the Demon Killer and his undying orcs now wage eternal war against Khorne's blood-letter generals. Each day, the battle rages anew. Each dusk, as the last orc falls bellowing into the dust, great clouds of fungal spores are loosed into the blood-drenched foothills of the Osseous peaks. By morning they grow, they hatch, they charge again. It is a war without end, an offering beyond measure. And for Khorne, whose only creed is conflict eternal, it is perfection made manifest. For what is more sacred to the Blood God than the certainty of slaughter? Within the nightmares of mortals and the mythic tales of forgotten empires, few beings inspire more dread than the demons of Khorne. Terrible in form and terrible in purpose, they are nightmares made flesh, horned and fanged monstrosities with blood-red hides, cloven hooves, and eyes that blaze like twin suns of murder. Their presence makes clear the truth. They are born to kill. To treat with such entities is a folly few survive, unless armed with blood sacrifices enough to stay their hand. Should a petitioner live long enough to speak, bargains are possible, but never safe. These demons crave only release, to be unleashed upon victims with gleeful abandon. They do not discriminate. Any warm body will do. For some warlords, that indiscriminate violence is not a risk. It is the entire point. The bloodletters are the foot soldiers of the blood god, savage and relentless. With hideous horned forms and cloven hooves, they carry hell blades, bloodthirsty weapons forged in the hellfires at the base of the throne of skulls. Clad in brass armor, they enter battle howling, tearing through enemy lines in frenzies of unrestrained slaughter. Shock cavalry of an unmatched fury, a blood crusher is a union of a bloodletter rider and a juggernaut steed, a massive beast of brass flesh, iron sinew, and blazing blood. These monstrous demon machine hybrids roar with the fury of 1,000 dead souls, their every charge shaking the earth. They are the unrelenting hammer of Khorne's will, living avatars of his rage. The heralds of Khorne are more than commanders. They are living icons of war, chosen by Khorne to lead his demonic hosts. Heralds embody slaughter given purpose. Their martial prowess is exceeded only by the bloodthirsters, and their very presence inspires nearby demons to bloodier heights. Where they stride, rivers of gore follow. The fleshhounds are ferocious canine beasts bred for the hunt. They bear the collars of Khorne, enchanted relics that render them all but immune to psychic tampering. Once loosed upon a scent, no prey escapes. They do not rest, they do not reason. They only pursue and rend. Living engines of war, juggernauts are brass bulls of demonic origin. Their blood molten fire, their breath hot enough to sear flesh from bone. Created in the furnaces at the base of Khorne's rage, they are given as mounts to Khorne's most favored champions, a deadly honor. The most terrifying manifestation of Khorne's wrath are the bloodthirsters, towering giants of destruction. They possess horned skulls, bat-like wings, cloven hooves, and bellowing war cries. Wielding massive, dual-headed axes and whips, bloodthirsters are the perfect warriors, incarnations of war itself. No battlefield is safe when one descends. Once mortal, now eternal, are the blood princes of Khorne. Former warriors of flesh who carved their way to immortality through rivers of blood. They were champions who pleased Khorne through endless slaughter and unwavering devotion, rising beyond mortality to stand as demon princes. For those who fail in this path, only madness or mutation await. But for those who succeed, glory everlasting. Though Khorne's demons are creatures of fury, they march in a strict hierarchy ruled by strength alone. The bloodthirsters lead, greater demons clad in brass, armed with barbed axes and hideous whips, towering over the battlefield as demigods of carnage. Around them gather demonic champions, each clawing for glory in the gods' gaze. Each blood legion is divided into 8 cohorts, and each cohort into 8 packs. This sacred pattern mirrors Khorne's holy number 8. Whether led by a herald or a demon prince, the formations serve a single truth: strength is dominance. The red tide legions drown enemies beneath waves of bloodletters, trailed by furies feeding upon the dead. The Hellfire Legion specialize in siegecraft, unleashing skull cannons, soul grinders, and the titanic lords of skulls. The brazen Thunder Legions are fast and vicious, crashing forward on blood thrones, blood crushers, and fleshhound packs. No mortal truly knows how many blood legions exist. Their composition often shifts. Infighting, warp surges, and ritual conquest constantly change their shape. Sometimes, one cohort will subjugate another, bringing it under heel in blood-soaked combat rites. Each cohort, each warrior, every blade and claw fights for a singular purpose: to spill blood, take skulls, and feed the unending hunger of the blood god.